Hey friends! Today I'm excited to talk to you about the YeeCore D22 Dashcam kit with a 4K front camera, a 1080p rear camera. We're going to unbox this thing, install this today, and kind of cover some of the cool features, built-in Wi-Fi, GPS. This thing has optional parking monitoring and will hold up to a 512 gigabyte memory card. See this windshield mount here. It's got 3M sticky tape on the back, which is going to attach to the windshield. Got the 4K 30 frames per second front camera. It's got the 1080p 30 frame per second rear camera. Inside the box, you're going to see this accessory box. It's going to have the cable that connects the front and rear camera, as well as the charging cable that plugs into your cigarette lighter. This is the one that comes with it. There is an optional one we'll talk about here in a little bit. It also comes with this bag that includes a tool for hiding your wire, as well as some clips for mounting the cable if you have to use that option. Has a little information card, and then we're going to get into these film pieces that actually adhere to your windshield that the cameras will mount to. I do want to point out on these pieces of film, the static film that attaches to your windows, there's outlines of where to mount the camera. Right here you can see it in the center. That's where the front camera mount is going to attach. And then on this rear film, it's off to the side. It's on the right hand side of the film right there. And then you're going to see on the left side of that where the cable's supposed to come off. I actually do this incorrectly on my install. We'll see how that turns out for me afterwards. So here we've got everything all laid out on the table. We've got both cameras on the table. We've got the cable that connects the front and rear cameras. We've got the film for the windows, we've got the hardware toolkit, we've got the windshield mount, as well as the USB-C cable for transferring to a computer, and then that charging cable. And look, it's Pip, guys. Pip wants to play ball with us. Here, Pip. Here's the ball. Go get it, Pip. Chase it. Pip's a good dog. All right. Inside the camera box comes this instruction manual. I recommend reading through this. There's a lot of stuff going on with this camera. And it also has some links to a product that we're going to talk about. I mentioned earlier, this has the optional parking monitor. It requires this A21 power kit for constant power. The cigarette lighter doesn't give you constant power. This kit does, so you'll need that link down below. So here's the camera. Everything's ready to go. That's that power kit on Amazon. I linked for you. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Get notified when I post cool videos. So now we're in the car. We're going to mount this thing. And I want to mount this thing out of the way, so I'm going to try to put it behind the rear view mirror right here, so when I'm driving the car and I look over, I don't see the camera, and it's just out of the way. Now we need to clean the windshield where we're going to put this film. You can see that's where it's going to go, so I'm going to use this invisible glass to wipe it off. It's a window tint safe glass cleaner, and then afterwards I'm going to use this little cleaner I got to wipe it down, make sure there's nothing left on there. It's super clean. The first thing you got to do is peel this film off of the back of your plastic film before putting it on your window. And once you get that peeled off, you line it up, center it, put it right where you want it to go. And just remember that's where your camera is going to mount. So you want that little square mounting piece where the center is. And then now you're going to take your camera mount and camera. You can attach this now or you can attach it later. I attached it beforehand just to make it a little easier for me to put everything up there. And once you're ready to get that up, on the front of the camera lens there's this protective cover you've got to peel off, and then also on the part that mounts the windshield there's 3M sticky tape you got to take off, as well as this final cover on the film that we attached to the window. So now we've got everything set up. We can go ahead, center that, and then push it tightly up against that film on the windshield where the camera is going to go. And then go ahead and apply some pressure to that thing, get it on there nice and tight so it doesn't go anywhere. And then once it's on there, you can kind of see where it's at, and then take a look at that's where I mounted it. So again, it's behind my mirror. I didn't want it blocking my view at all. And now we're onto the rear camera. On my car, my windows are dark. I've got 20% window tint all the way around, And that's going to be interesting, so I'm curious to see how this is gonna work out for me on that rear camera. And I've got a hatch, so I've got to run the cable from the inside of the car up into the hatch through these grommet things right here. If you've got just a sedan or a coupe, it goes in that rear window. You won't have to do this part, but I've got a hatch, so I've got to pull all this apart to be able to get the wire up through there and attach to the camera. It's going to be in that area. I've also got subs in my car, a couple 8-inch kickers, so it's going to be a little bit of bumping going on. We'll hope that sticks on there. But on here, I've got the grommet pulled out, I've got that cover pulled off, and now I'm going to take this cable for the camera and make sure I've got the part that attaches to the rear camera going up through here. So I'm going to put it up through the grommet so that way I can have it kind of dangling there so I can attach it to the camera after I mount it to the windshield. So there it is. I've got the wire up, run through the headliner, up through the grommet now, reassembled the back, and put the camera on. It's the same process for the front as the rear. Didn't need to show you that, but put it on there. Again, I put mine kind of on wrong. I didn't put it off to the side like I should have. I put it in the center. We'll see how that affects the quality once we get this thing up and running. So now we got to take this cable and run it along the headliner and the trim to get it all the way up to the front of the car, so that way we can attach it to that front camera. This is where that tool that comes with this camera comes in handy. It's like a little pry bar thing to be able to get that wire pushed up in between the headliner and the car out of the way, especially when there's hard plastic trim pieces and things like that. My recommendation here is just find where the trim and the headliner meet, and that's where you're going to want to run that wire using this tool to kind of separate them, to give you some room to put that cable up in there. Here's kind of a good example of where I run that cable in between the plastic trim and that headliner, and we're going to do that from the back all the way to the front along the doors and all the trim along the way. Make sure you spend a little bit of time really concealing that wire. You don't want to be able to see that. Make this look really good and professional. So now I've got the cable up to the front. I've got a bunch of extra cable. What I'm going to do is pull down the headliner a little bit. I'm going to shove the extra cable up in the headliner out of the way. You could have put the extra cable at the back of the car. Just for my install, I'm doing it at the front. So I'm going to shove everything up in there out of the way and leave me just enough to plug it into this camera. Now we're ready to hook up that power cable, well, not power cable, camera cable from the rear camera to the front camera. It goes on the camera. You're going to see there's a plug on that mount. That's for the power cable, not the camera cable. Make sure you plug the camera into the camera just like we did there. So now you can see that this wire is tucked up under the headliner, all the way back, hidden out of the way. You can only see the cable right there. You can't see it anywhere else. Nice and hidden, looking professional. And now we can do the power cable. So the power cable, like I said, plugs into that mount. I'm not going to hide this one right now because it's going to a cigarette lighter. This is temporary. I'm ordering that A21 hardware kit, which I will conceal and put it in the fuse box behind the glove box right there. But for this, we're just going to go ahead and plug this in right there and attach it to the cigarette lighter. So now we're ready to put the memory card in before you power the car on, or before you power the camera on. Go ahead and get the memory card inserted so that way that's ready to go. Now the memory card's in, we're going to go ahead and plug this thing in to the cigarette lighter. Make sure your key's turned on so it powers on. Kind of a cool thing, this does have a USB port attached to it, so that way you can use that to charge a phone or do whatever you want with that. Once you power it on, it's going to bring up a little setup menu. You're going to select your language, which probably be English, and then go through a little setup process, and then it's going to give you the option to format your memory card, which you will need to do before it can record. There are a lot of options in the setup menu. It doesn't have to all be done right now. You can always come back and get to it later, but you will need to do a couple of things really quick. If you want to use your smartphone to view video, you're going to have to download the app using the QR code here and get that installed on your phone. Once that's installed, you're going to have to connect to Wi-Fi. So you're going to open the app, hit connect to Wi-Fi, and then you're going to get the Wi-Fi information from your camera. So it's got that built-in Wi-Fi. This is where that comes into play, allowing you to pair your phone and your camera so you can view video on your phone. Once you've paired it, you got to open the app back up again and then launch it, and now you can start seeing the video from your camera feed. cool little thing about using your camera to view the feed is you can adjust your cameras without having to look at your camera screen. So if you're in the back adjusting your rear view camera, you can actually just hold your phone and see it to adjust it. Now everything's set up. We're gonna go test this thing on the road, see how it looks. That front camera looking amazing, great quality, wide view. And then something I did really like, the rear camera through that really dark window tint looks good, and you can't even see anything that looks too weird because I mounted it on that static film incorrectly. Gets great quality. Here we are at dusk, sun's going down, still great image quality. You can see everything crystal clear, looks amazing, nice wide views, which I really like. I say this front camera, it definitely is amazing, the 4K video quality. The one thing I do notice when it's dark out, that rear camera, because of my window tint and probably the way I mounted it, you do get some glare from the headlights, but you can still see things very well. Still crystal clear, no concerns there. Overall, I really like this thing, recommend it. Check out the link below, and until next time.